Hello, and God bless. Today I am sitting in the
Milford Methodist Church, a global Methodist congregation.
and I have the pleasure of meeting Pastor
Doug Burns.
Very nice to meet you, sir.
Very good to meet you as well.
Thank you for doing this with me. This is, I believe, my first interview in Somerset County. In fact, if it weren't for the godly thing called GPS, I don't think I would have ever found your church, because I've never been on these roads before.
Right.
But let me just say, it's beautiful country. The leaves are turning nice colors, and I had a wonderful drive this morning. So thank you for inviting me to sit down and chat with you. What is the address of your church?
The address for the Milford Church is 368 Bando, B-A-N-D-O Road, Somerset, Pennsylvania.
And what are the times of your services?
We meet early for our first service. The first service is at 8:15. We have a 9:30 Sunday school. We're blessed with 4 adult classes. And it's been difficult with the little ones, but we're trying, I think, as a lot of churches are, to get our education program going again. And then there's the second service at 10:45.
Now, one interesting thing that caught my eye about you is you go under the, I don't know if it's a nickname, of the circuit riding preacher. And this you handed to me a little bit ago.
Yes.
Maybe you want to explain what that is. Maybe there's some younger people out there who don't know what a circuit riding preacher is.
Okay, very good. Well, my father is with the Lord now in heaven, but he was a Methodist evangelist and passed away in 2010. But he often said he felt like a man born at the wrong time.
Now, don't we all sometimes?
So he thought he could have been born at the time of the circuit riders. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, Methodist pastors traveled, really England and also the Americas, starting new churches or class meetings that became churches. So my dad, Reverend Dick Burns, did that for a good number of years, and then he passed that along to me, and this was down in North Huntington, kind of in the suburbs, so that drew a lot of looks when I came through the suburbs on a horseback, and the circuit riders would travel with just a saddlebag and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Their main question was an interesting one. It is, how is it with your soul? So I wonder how often we hear that.
Well, that's a very
kind
good
of
question. And you did something that no one has ever been able to do. You covered my face during these interviews. There are people out there just tuning in because I'm no longer seen.
Well, I'm sorry that picture was so large.
No. That's all good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful and a wonderful piece of history. And I love the old-fashioned ways, and,
Right.
and I love how things had gotten started. And at one point in history, there was Methodist churches, United Methodist churches, all over the place, and
All over the country.
because of efforts like your father's forefathers, the circuit riding preachers.
Right.
I think that's awesome.
About a day's journey or so they would go, and then they may not get back to that church for a couple months. So the lay people were very important in strengthening those individual churches so that they would have vital ministries. I think sometimes so much work gets directed back towards us as pastors. It's not really helping our church families. Maybe it's hindering them.
Maybe so. Yeah.
You know.
Now, I assume your father was a great influence in you becoming a pastor yourself, since he was a pastor. Was there any point in time you said, "No, Dad, I'm not going to do this," and yet you did it anyway? Or tell us your story.
He was pretty much allowed me to be able to search out that calling on my own. I thought about being a state police officer, perhaps a counseling psychologist, but ultimately after college at Asbury University, where they just had the big revival, I took a year off, and then I went to Asbury Theological Seminary, and from there, been 35 years pastoring in Western Pennsylvania.
Well, so I think you made the right choice, and certainly by the looks of your. By the way, this is a beautiful church. How long have you been here?
I've been here for 8 years in the Somerset County. It's between Somerset and Rockwood is where the church is located.
And this building, although it looks very, very modern and has all the modern conveniences, it dates back, or at least part of the building. How long ago?
It dates back a good bit to at least the late 1800s for a class, and then the early 1900s, perhaps even for the first of construction. but then it had a couple different parts of the larger sanctuary and an educational unit, so we're very fortunate for the ones that went before us.
Yes.
So,
If anybody knows me, you know I'm wild about trains. I like model trains. I like to ride on trains. And you have a train track right out here, which I find just not neat and historic and romantic. And you see there was once a song written about this train track.
I think it's, and I might need to correct it, I think it's Life is Like a Mountain Railroad. And if you look up that song, it was written in this area about our trains. So.
Well, this is just beautiful. We, my church, we don't have any claims on trains, but we will soon have claims on roundabouts. So maybe life is like a roundabout. Maybe I'll write a song.
Oh, yeah.
Before we began, you were showing me some pictures, some camp pictures.
Yeah, my dad was very involved with scouting. He grew up in a difficult home. His dad was an alcoholic, and he once said Boy Scouting saved him first, and the gospel saved him second.
That's good.
So it's important when we reach out to kids. So my dad was involved in adventure camping within the Methodist Church here in Western Pennsylvania, and I followed in those footsteps too. So from about 2001 till 2014, I led canoe trips along the Clarion River up in northern Pennsylvania. So as a week of time with kids, you can really delve pretty deep into their lives and their spiritual lives too. So
Excellent.
that's been a very important part of, and we've also taken older groups to Canada, Algonquin Park, Tomogamy, some of the wilderness areas up there. So it's a real adventure.
That's terrific. Now, if I were to show up here on a Sunday morning, what could I expect? I'm sure you're friendly, because you're very friendly, so I'm sure that people reflect their pastor.
Oh.
Go ahead. It might be important.
Okay, hopefully that can get edited out.
I doubt it. Anyway.
Anybody else's phone ring during important times?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this isn't that important. This is very casual. But if I were to show up here on a Sunday morning, what do you think would impress me? I mean, are you contemporary? Are you traditional?
It's probably more traditional, but some blended service in some ways where we'll use some praise courses and different styles of music in the early part of the service. So kind of a mixture.
Do you prefer to preach on current events or Bible passages?
I'm more of a biblical, definitely expository preacher, but I try to be sensitive to events going on in families' lives or individuals' lives or society to address from biblical perspective.
I can understand that you're a family man. You have grandchildren. You want them to grow up in a better world.
Right.
Yes. That's tremendous. Now, we have a few minutes left. You were sharing with me a little bit ago some passages from Thessalonians. Would you like to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
That's how
I think the past time has been difficult, not only for pastors, I think for really any believers. It's been difficult to navigate the times that we've gone through with COVID and so many societal issues that we're going through. And I think sometimes we can get in like a quagmire of, I don't know how to get out of this. And I had a superintendent once tell me, I was telling him about some problems, and he said, have you ever read any of St. Paul's writings? And it put me in mind, oftentimes St. Paul's, with his letters, he talked of all the good, but he also dealt with difficulties.
Yes, he did.
But I'm very grateful for some uplifting words he shared that not long ago I read again, and it just touched my heart deeply and inspired me to continue on, even though the times are difficult.
Yes.
And it's in 1 Thessalonians 2:8, and New King James Version is, so affectionately longing for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you have become dear to us. And one of the versions said, we were so delighted in you, or we were so determined to share the gospel with you, but not only that, but also our own lives, because the people there were so dear to Paul. So I guess sometimes simple's better, and I think I needed to get back to that of with delight and determination sharing the gospel, and in the same way with delight sharing my life with other people. And we talked about how it's not a coincidence that the two of us should get together this time just for mutual encouragement.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I thank you for coming.
Well, I thank you for allowing me.
Somerset County, and
you'd be surprised how many offers I don't get. So, so it's all good. I'm happy to make the trip, and like I said, I couldn't have picked a more beautiful day to come and meet you, and I'm just thrilled, and hopefully our paths will cross again.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for sitting down.
God bless you all.
Yes.
God bless you, pastors and lay people that watch this. Go to church.
Amen.
You'll be blessed.
Amen.